Yo, what is up? It is the Fantasy Bros. Today we're talking Week 5 waivers. Right before we get into it, if you're not subscribed, consider hitting subscribe. We make weekly fantasy videos. Today we're talking waivers, and let's get into the running back waivers for Week 5. And there's actually some pretty good options. You know, there was a couple big injuries. We've got a torn ACL in Denver. Javonte Williams hurt my soul, man. I got him in a couple leagues, and it's awful. But you got to adapt, and there's a couple of options. All right, real quick. We recorded before it was announced that Latavius Murray is being signed to the Denver Broncos, so that does muddy the backfield a little bit. But I still think Mike Boone is a good pickup, who we're going to talk about. But Latavius Murray is another player that you should be looking to add. I mean, you want the chance at the lead guy in this Broncos offense. And with Melvin Gordon struggling, Latavius Murray could see a decent role. I still think Mike Boone is probably the better pickup of the two. However, I think it makes Boone a little bit less of a good pickup this week. So keep that in mind going into the next discussion regarding Mike Boone. But I think the number one guy for running backs this week is probably Mike Boone. He's the backup to Javonte other than Melvin Gordon, and they use a committee system. So I think if you're in desperate need of running back, he's worth a look. What do you think?
Yep, I agree there. They'll use Melvin Gordon too, but he was also injured in this past game, and he has a fumbling issue, which the coaches don't like, because why would you? So
Right.
at least for the majority of that game after Javonte's injury, it was the Mike Boone show. Granted, it wasn't pretty, but at this point in the season, we'll take anybody with a pulse that's getting touches, and Mike Boone should be in line for a pretty good amount of touches.
Yeah, I think if you're not in desperate need of running back this week, I wouldn't spend a lot if you don't need a start. But if you do, then you're going to have to break the bank on one of these guys. And this is why not Mike Boone? I mean, there's not that many better options. So yeah, if you need it, maybe, what would you say, like 15, 20%?
If you're in desperate need, like you need a running back now, maybe you have Javonte Williams and Cordell Patterson, who just got hurt, and Elijah Mitchell. Maybe that was your running back core. If you have to have a start now and you're in desperate need, I would go even up to 30% potentially. At least this week, is the guy that projects to have the most consistent touches year long, because the guy who he's replacing's injury is a season ender, unfortunately. And at least some
Right.
of these other guys, their starters are going to come back at some
Right.
point.
Yeah, he's going to have the most season-long value. So if you think you're going to need a guy season-long, then, I mean, that probably means you're the Javonte owner right now, and this is probably the best option. But you did mention Cordero Patterson, who did get injured. He went on IR, so I think he's going to miss at least 4 weeks. We don't know how much exactly right now, but it's going to be significant, and you're going to need to fill in. So a couple of backups came in and played. Tyler Allgeier, the rookie, and Caleb Huntley. They both had, I believe, 10 carries, and Tyler Allgeier had a catch. But Tyler Allgeier did play twice the amount of snaps. He saw 44% to Caleb Huntley's 22%. So do we think that Tyler Allgeier is the pickup here?
Yeah, I would probably go Algier over Huntley, although with these two guys, it's probably more so a coin flip. There's no way to tell what direction to lean. I would assume Tyler Algier would get the first crack at it, being a rookie this year who they just drafted and invested into. I would assume they would at least see what he has first. But ultimately, I do think they're going to split pretty even.
Right.
So it's just crapshoot at this point.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick one, I would pick Algier. But, I mean, if you think they're even, and I think Huntley is going to be cheaper. So,
Yep.
I would, if you're missing Cordero and you need to fill in, I would put in maybe a couple of contingent $10 bids on these guys, something like that, and just whichever one falls to you, you get as a fill-in. But it's a bad Atlanta offense. None of the pickups are ideal this week, but they all have a chance of being something startable. So at least there's options. Another option is our fourth guy is Isaiah Pacheco. McKinnon took a bit of a step back in the snaps, so that left Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire to get more snaps, and they both looked really good on the ground for the most part. I think Pacheco looked like the strongest running back just as a pure runner, and I think he's going to continue to get more involved. I don't see why not. I mean, he was in on the goal line from time to time. It seems like a bit of randomness which running back they use and when, so it's kind of hard to predict, but going with the rookie's not a bad bet. Somebody who could be an ascending talent.
I agree with that. Clyde, if any of you are watching, has the most amazing touchdown luck right now.
True.
I think he has like 5 or 6 touchdowns on maybe like 40 touches or less, which is just crazy. And so that should regress a little bit, I would think. Now being the Chiefs offense, you never know. If he's their goal line back, then he's their goal line back and he'll continue to score. But Pacheco does look very good in the time that he's played. And it's not that he's not playing a lot. I mean, he had 10 rushes this week. Clyde had 10 rushes this week. I believe both of them had 41 yards. So they're already producing the same. If Pacheco gets used a little bit more in the goal line formation, then I would see his stock rise pretty significantly. Or if one of McKinnon or CEH get hurt, then Pacheco should skyrocket in value.
Yeah, so this Chiefs offense being a three-headed monster, I do think it's a little bit of a farce that, it's not that Clyde is the touchdown guy. He's just getting a lot of luck, and these other running backs are getting in on the goal line. They're just not getting as lucky as Clyde. If you saw his touchdown this last week, I mean, it was all Patrick Mahomes. It's nothing to do with Clyde. It's just Mahomes going crazy. He'll get it to anybody, who's in front of him. So I think Pacheco's a decent pickup. I wouldn't spend a lot on him, but he's a speculative ad. Similar, Rachaad White saw an increased role in the passing game. They ran it almost 0 times, but their offense did look a lot better, as we predicted on last week's trade show, with the return of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Julio Jones. I mean, their offense can actually score, and we saw a week where their running backs totaled, I think, 0 rushing yards, but both running backs got it done. Rachaad White and Leonard Fournette both had a solid fantasy day, and if you add in some rushing volume to that, I mean, there's a chance that Rachaad White could be useful. I think he's more of a handcuff still right now as far as going forward, but definitely worth a stash and keep an eye on.
Yeah, I agree. Rachaad White, this was the first time we've actually seen him have an independent role outside of just a few snaps here and there. Both he and Leonard Fournette scored a touchdown. I believe Rachaad White had like 3 carries for 6 yards and a touchdown. And Leonard Fournette, literally all of his production came through the passing. But you'll take that. I mean, he had -3 rushing yards and still scored almost 15 PPR fantasy points. You'll take that every day of the week. As we predicted, Leonard Fournette finally did see the end zone. Crazy what happens when you go from 0 receivers to 3 Pro Bowl receivers to an offense.
True.
It actually looks good. So I would pick up Rachaad White as a speculative ad. I wouldn't plan to start him anytime soon. But if Fournette were to get hurt, or if maybe he carves out a more 70-30, 65-40, 65-35, 60-40 split, then maybe he'll have standalone value in the future.
Yeah. If Fournette were to go down, I mean, Rachaad White should see a huge
He'd
workload.
be a league winner.
Yeah. So definitely worth holding if you have the space for it on your roster. The guys we've talked about so far are less than 50% owned in sleeper leagues. Some guys that are around 50% that you should probably check on. Raheem Mostert being one of them. I think he's like 56% owned. Didn't have an amazing week, but the snaps were up, the carries were up, everything was up. So just quickly check if he's owned, and check if he's dropped when the waivers run, because like I said, wasn't an amazing week. Edmonds got another touchdown, so could be dropped. And then Brian Robinson, I think he's cleared to return. Check on him. He's about 50% owned as well. I'm sure somebody stashed him in most of your leagues, but just do a quick check. He's a good stash right now. Is there anybody else for running backs?
Pretty much it. The only other person I could even think about would be Zamir White, which is the rookie running back for the Raiders. We just saw Josh Jacobs go absolute bananas last game. He had over 30 touches. If you follow Josh Jacobs often, he does tend to get nicked up every now and then. So if you want to stash Zamir White in case a break glass, Josh Jacobs gets hurt, at least this was reassuring that they are willing to give their running back a lot of work. So that's just kind of a good stash if you can, but I wouldn't make him a priority must-have go get right now.
All right. Well, that concludes our running back waiver wire pickups for week 5. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.